Switching lanes all of a sudden. I'm going crazy. I'm going crazy.
Welcome back to the Be Inspires Be podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Burgio. This video is not so great today. So if you're watching us on YouTube, I apologize. But if you are tuning in and listening like the rest of us normally do, just listening to the audio, that is what is most important. It's not about what people necessarily see on the outside. It's about what you think, what you believe, what you feel. So that was what inspired this podcast. And I want to just dive right into kind of where my thoughts are at this week. When I started this podcast, I was on top of it. I was doing video. I was interviewing guest speakers who are from this industry, really bringing you guys like insightful conversations of what had been going on during COVID. If you didn't know, that's when I started the podcast, was like right in the middle of all of this, when I think it was the first announcement Gavin Newsom made about us being able to work outside. Now, I owned a salon downtown San Diego. And the thought of working outside meant that I had to work on a sidewalk in between two restaurants, which just obviously wasn't going to happen. So that was the why and the push that I needed to really bring this podcast to fruition. And in the last over a year, I think we are we just at a year now? October, I think, is when I first launched the podcast, but I started recording them in the summer of last year. So the summer of 2020. We are now currently in the middle of October of 2021. And I just really wanted to talk about what's kind of been coming up for myself and also in my coaching clients' calls. It's interesting because a lot of times we think we're doing the right things. We think we're putting the work in. We think we're being consistent. But if we're really being honest with ourselves, we're only giving maybe 10, 20, 30% of what we could be doing in that said particular arena, area, whatever the case may be. So today I made a post on Instagram. And by today, I record these a couple days ahead of time. And if you're listening, my cat is obnoxiously playing behind me. Yeah, I'm a cat person now, which who am I? And I had a little graphic made that I posted today on Instagram. So if you're listening to this on Fuck Yeah Friday, I posted it on Wednesday. So if you're tuning in this week or next week, you can go back and read what I wrote. But I'm gonna read it to you guys today because it's truly what I feel like has pushed me to the next level of my business, what pushed me to the level I got to in my behind the chair business in the salon, what pushed me to open my salon when I did, what allowed me to make the decisions that I did in order to sell the salon and move forward in the coaching space. So the thing I'm holding up right now is the little graphic that was posted, and it says, what you focus and believe will ultimately be your reality. So I'll say that again. What you focus and believe will ultimately be your reality. And on one side, I have the words scarcity, indecision, and fear versus focused action and abundant mindset and consistency. So often when things are kind of not quite right, or we're not really clear on things, we can make decisions based out of fear. We can say, oh, I'm scared, or I don't know, or I'm not sure, or I need more information to make a better decision. And that fear can hold us back from potential opportunities if we would have just said, fuck it, yeah, let's try it. Or what would happen if, best case scenario versus worst case scenario, right? So with that being said, fear can cause us to have massive indecision. Fear can have you paralyzed to the point of analysis paralysis. Have you ever heard of that? Where you're like the little thing that's spinning when you go to Google search something, and the wheel's just like spinning and spinning and spinning. And you're like, when is it going to stop spinning and give me what I want to know? Like, how often do we get stuck in our own heads around making decisions in our best interest for our life, our business, relationships, whatever the case may be? And with that comes sometimes scarcity. So like, if I do this, then I won't have that. Or if I spend the money and invest in something, I won't have it anymore. My bank account will drop because I have spent the money on something. But what I want you guys to think about is, when was a time that you invested in something and it was so worth it? When was a time that you made a decision that you weren't sure if it was the right decision, but it turned out to be the best decision you ever made? When was a time that you were scared to do something, but you went ahead and did it anyways? like channeling back to those moments in your life, those times where you were scared, but you did it anyways. Like that's proof and belief that you can do hard things. And often when we push ourselves through that time, through that challenging scarcity, the fear, the indecision, and we come out on the other side, we're like, oh, that wasn't so bad, right? So I want you guys to think about that the next time you're put in one of those categories. And where can you focus your attention so that you're not stuck in indecision? Where can you focus so that you're getting really clear on like the next step or what's in your best interest if you chose XYZ, you know, and then being consistent with that action. I think a lot of people think they do more than they do. Like a lot of people think they eat less calories than they do, or they expend more energy in the gym than they really do. And it goes back to when I used to train clients, I would have them track their macros, which is their calories and whatnot. I would have them wear a watch to count how many steps they had, or they were taking, how much energy they were burning, so that we would know how to properly fuel them. And 9 times out of 10, people thought they were eating way better than they were. 9 times out of 10, people thought they were burning more calories than they were. So that's so the case when it comes to what people think they need to pour into a business. You know, my girlfriends and I, who are all entrepreneurs, and we kind of sit around and we don't laugh at, but we laugh at the fact that people think that they can get to a space where shit's just easy and it just works. And it just flows, and they can work a couple hours here or there, or they can just show up for, you know, 1, 2, 3 days out of the week for their business and they'll make 6 figures or have a 6-figure month even. And I have to laugh because anybody that I follow who is financially successful, who has a life that I'm striving to have, or has things in their life or available opportunities to them, they work a lot. And if ever I see them coasting, it's after a big push. It's after a big launch. It's after a big course or program that they've ran. It's after massive momentum in something where they finally got to like sit back and watch it come and work without them for a little while. Nobody I know started a business and instantly got to, you know, part-time work in it, and it was uber successful. Now, if you invested in, you know, Uber, or you invested in anything like that and it just took off, okay, that's a different story. But a true entrepreneur who has an idea and wants to start something from scratch, whether that's I'm going to beauty school, I'm going to be a hairdresser, I'm been a hairdresser for X amount of years, I'm going to go open my own salon. You can't do those things without putting focused attention and energy into it to see it thrive. Now, if you get stuck in the scarcity, if you get stuck in the fear, if you get stuck in the indecision of if you should do those things, they might hold you back. But how much better will it feel to say, fuck, at least I tried. At least I put everything I had into it to see what would happen, so that I never have to look back with, oh, I wish I would have, or if only I would have tried harder. You know, it reminds me of when I competed in bodybuilding. So if you guys go back through my Instagram way back when, I competed in bodybuilding a couple times. I started when I was in my mid 20s. And then after I had Kai, it was like a challenge to see if I could do it again. And like anything I usually do, I find somebody that I want to emulate, who I'm attracted to, in the sense of like, what do they have, what I want? And then I go after them and hire them. And then I follow through with everything that they tell me to do. And once that's done, then I can say, you know, when I step on stage, I've given it everything I could. And I had great results both times that I stepped on stage and competed. And with that being said, you know, I watched for 15 years before I even thought of opening my own salon. I watched what to do. I watched what not to do. I watched mistakes happen. I watched people do things that were just all sorts of wrong. And every single time it was based out of those 3 things: fear, scarcity, or indecision. Where maybe there was partners and they couldn't come to a decision together. There was fear around spending money to invest properly. There was a scarcity mindset that if I pay my employees more than I'm paying them now, then the business won't make money. Or if I feed them clients, then they will leave. You know, it's so many things. So, you know, going back to people thinking that they can just put a tiny bit of effort into something and that they're going to have massive success or growth out of it, I'm here to tell you that's a bunch of horse shit. And if you've seen some slowdown in your business, if you've seen some slowdown in the way you're attracting clients right now, I challenge you to really take a bird's eye view of how have you really been showing up? Is there been consistency in your business? Has there been consistency in your work? Has there been consistency in your client experience that you're talking to your clients, how you're working with them, how you're showing up every day, your follow through, all of that? Take a second and look at the way that you've been showing up, and is it the best representation of the business that you want to run? And so I ask myself that every quarter. I kind of take a peek at what I've been doing, what's been working, what's not been working. A lot of entrepreneurs I know do it every single month. They take a full inventory of what the last month looked like. They check off boxes of like, where did I really show up? What needs to change? Where can I do better? And then they take a moment to celebrate their wins. They take a moment to celebrate what is good, what they are grateful for, so that you can have that sense of accomplishment. And with that, feel good, push you forward in momentum each and every month, each and every quarter, however often you need to check in with yourself. Back when I was competing, I weighed myself every single day to check in to see if what I was doing was working, to see if I was reaching my goals every single day. I had a very tight deadline from when I started prep to when I stepped on stage. It was about 16, 17 weeks. And in that, I knew each and every day what I needed to do in order to show up as that best version of myself I wanted to step on stage. So how often do we set ourselves really strict goals of, I want to hit this by this certain day? And so in order to do that, how do I reverse engineer that goal, big or small? What do I need to do every single day in order to get to that end result that I desire? And so it's in that. If you want to have a part-time business that does part-time profit, then you can probably show up 2 or 3 days a week and get that out of it. But if you want a business that is thriving, that is at one point maybe scalable, at one point maybe for sale, for profit, like I was able to sell my salon, you have to almost go into it with the mindset of that end goal. How can you show up? How can you build? How can you bring forth all of that good stuff with those end goals in mind? And I promise you, if you have a solid end goal in mind, you won't be stuck in indecision. You won't be stuck in fear. You won't be stuck in scarcity, because you'll already know what needs to get done each and every day, each and every week, each and every month in order to get to that goal you said you wanted. So take a moment. We're almost at the end of the year. It's the middle of October right now. If you're listening, you still have a couple months, really powerful months in our industry to create, build, give awesome experiences to your clients, to really solidify you as the entrepreneur that you are, because that's what each and every one of us is in this industry, no matter whether you're actually an employee right now, a renter, a salon owner, any of that. I really want you to take a look at how you've been showing up. And it's never too late to make some shifts in your business, to show up bigger, to show up better, to really put forth a plan, even if it's just from now until the end of the year, of how you want things to be and what it is that you need in your life. And how can you come from a place of consistency, abundance, and really just taking focused action to get you to that end goal. So I always love to hear what you guys are working on. If you've got some questions for me, shoot them in my DM on Instagram. If you love this episode of the podcast, share it with somebody who you think could use a kick in the butt and a reminder of what is possible, to maybe snap them out of indecision, snap them out of that scarcity mindset they might be in, or you might be in. This is always a reminder to myself, because whenever I'm in a place of, I guess it's confusion, or I start to get a little bit on edge, I realize I haven't been showing up the way I should have. And it's like this inner knowingness of like, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Things aren't happening for you the way you want them to, because you're not showing up the way you're supposed to. So if I just hit the stop, take a pause for a second, and go back to what I know to be true, the consistency, showing up, doing the things you need to do in order to build what it is you say you want. First, you got to know what it is you want. And that's what I love helping you guys with. That's why I love working with early stage entrepreneurs, whether it's an idea you want to bring to fruition, whether it's in this industry, coaching you through becoming a high level stylist that charges top dollar, whether it's moving into the ownership space, whether it's going into your own solo suite, whether it's going from commission to booth rent, really creating a plan around why you're doing what you're doing and how you're going to do it. will give you the confidence you need to step into whatever next level version you're ready for, because every next level will require a different version of you. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you're someone who's like super go like I am, who lives off of achievement and the doing and the excitement that stuff kind of brings, we have to be careful, because sometimes we can get to the place where things are going really well, and then I wouldn't say we self-sabotage or I self-sabotage, but I'm always looking for the next thing that's going to give me that high of excitement or get me fired up, but I've stayed consistent for 20 years in my behind the chair business. And that has paid me in dividends around consistency, establishing myself as the expert, and giving me the foundation to do and move into any other arena that I want to, along with the financial stability to make decisions that are not in scarcity. So check in where you are, figure out where you want to go, put a plan in action. If you need support, I'm here for you. And again, if you love this podcast, share it with somebody that you know. And I always love to see what you guys are up to. Happy business building. And I will see you guys on the next episode of the Beauty Inspires Beauty podcast.
Switching lanes, I